What is going on, everybody? It is a beautiful day here in Malibu, California. Right now, I'm hanging out in front of this beautiful marathon coach looking at that view. A lot of you have seen a previous video I did with the owners of this marathon coach, Fred and Cindy. They traded in their 2018 King Aire for a 2008 marathon coach. And in that video, they shared a ton of wisdom. Well, that was about 9 months ago. Today, I'm gonna check in with Fred and see how this first 9 months has been going. Hey, what's going on, Fred?
Come on in.
So Fred, it's been some time, man. How have you been, sir?
Everything's good. You know, just adjusting to the Prevost lifestyle and all the things that come with owning one of these. You know, for us, it's gone really good. I can't really complain. We did have to do things to it initially that we knew were definitely going to have to be done. Changing out some, kind of zeroing out, not entirely, but as far as engine wise and mechanically, some shock absorber work, some other things like that. So that was a chunk of money that we had put aside. Slide out seal, we had to deal with that as well. But these are things that are maintenance related issues that we knew we were going to have to deal with. And then after that, we did a little bit of remodel, kind of a halfway remodel. And that costs money too. But you know, this is the kind of thing that you have to have an allocation when you buy something that's 12 years old. You have to, if you want to update it, you have to kind of put in your work and your time. But otherwise, we've already put 13, almost 14,000 miles into this coach.
Nice.
In 9 months, yeah. And we've gone all over. We visit our kids a lot and that kind of thing. So the reality is that, I mean, it's never left us stranded. We were in the middle of a snowstorm, in the middle of a rainstorm, in the middle of like a lot of things, and the coach just never gives up. I mean, it's just been amazing for us. So that to me is different, that I can trust, mechanically speaking, the bus to take us wherever. And even if it's a light on or something that needs to be dealt with, that's remarkable that it just keeps going, like a true service bus, I guess.
We're gonna adjust the lighting here, guys. I'm gonna keep you guys in the loop with us here mid-interview here. This is one of the cool features about a marathon coach. Fred just presses a couple buttons here. Boom. That is so cool. And how have the lights been holding up? I know Jesse got those lights dialed in for you.
You know, they're perfect. I mean, you have, you know, it's reliable. Marathon actually kind of had to tweak a little bit of the lights to put the right buttons in and whatnot to make the lights work perfectly with the Crestron. But I mean, everything is just functioning really well.
I've just got to point out how it's literally like a brand new coach or a totally different vibe. You know, we were just looking at the ocean and everything. You press one button, totally close it down, and now it's like, you know, we could be anywhere right now, but it feels like we're in like a high-end, you know, like a Manhattan, you know, skyrise or something here, you know. But, so sorry, man, my ADD's kicking in here. But let's get back to the bus. Now, your King Aire, you traded in a 2018 King Aire. Go check out that video if you haven't already. Fred and his wife Cindy shared a bunch of information in that. But now that you've owned this for 9 months, how would you compare 9 months to owning this? And you had the King Aire for about 9 months to a year. How long did you have the King Aire for?
We had the King Aire for about 9 months. It was just close. Let's say close to a year. Close to a year with the King Aire. Experience is night and day. It's been night and day. I mean, unfortunately, I think we just had a bad one, maybe, because I'm sure there's a lot of King Aire owners out there that are going to be seeing this and think, no, my King Aire is perfect. Our King Aire was not perfect. It was a total fiasco. It was a disaster. And it was mostly electrical problems, but it was just everything. I mean, unfortunately, with that coach, it was in the shop every other week. It was just a nightmare. And we thought that was going to be our life coach, you know, that we were going to trade into that coach and be good and have it forever, have it for 15, 20 years. But it just didn't work out. And it was just so bad that I actually told my wife, look, you know, I think I want to get out of motor coaching altogether. I just can't do this. I cannot be going to the shop every other week with some light or some other thing that doesn't work and everything else. It left me stranded 1.5 times because it almost left me stranded twice. But I got lucky that I was close to a shop. But one of the times I had to tow it, put it on a tow truck. I mean, it was just too much. And at that time, back last year, for some reason, the prices on these buses had gone down. I don't know what the market was calling for or whatever, but it was different. It's like I'm looking at the prices kind of fluctuate, and I told my wife, "Hey, have you noticed that the coaches that we would like are in the neighborhood of $100,000 cheaper than they were, let's say, like 6 months ago?" And so we started looking, and so we found this one, and so we knew going in that there were things that were need to be done to it, and we have done quite a bit of upgrades, nothing crazy, but enough to require a budget for upgrades. But the entire drivability and mechanically speaking and the reliability of these things, it's just a different world. You can't compare a production coach with a commercial bus. It's just different.
Just driving the King Aire and the bus, like I've heard a lot of people say the King Aires are really nice to drive.
Right.
Just comparing, driving, the drivability of the King Aire compared to this 2008 XL2 Marathon Coach, how would you compare the two in just drivability?
There's no comparison. You just can't. I'm sorry. To all of you King Aire owners out there, there is no comparison. It is still a production coach, and it will still rattle and do the things that production coach will do. It's loud. It's everything. Now, is it better than something that is half the price in the production world? Yes, it's probably a really good coach within the production world, but it's not a fair comparison to go from that to a commercial vehicle. It's just completely different.
For what you're into this, Coach, I don't want to get too much into your budget, but are you pretty comparable? Did you pay more for this, or did you pay more for the King Aire, would you say?
I paid more for this, a little bit more starting out on the purchase price, just a little bit, not too much. And if you add the upgrades and all that stuff that we've done, then you definitely are, you're probably looking, as far as upgrades, you need to have a budget for upgrades if you're interested in something older. So for us, the budget is still to be decided because there's other things that we want to do, and right now with the whole COVID thing and everything, we're just kind of holding back from spending any crazy money. But you're looking at probably right now maybe in the neighborhood of $25,000 to $30,000, maybe in the neighborhood of $30,000 that we spent in different things, repairs or mechanical upgrades, let's say, and then interior upgrades.
How much would you say were repairs, and how much would you say was upgrades?
Probably in the neighborhood of 17, 18 grand in mechanical stuff. But mind you, this is not stuff that I did. Some of these things I did because it was maintenance related that had not been done. So when you buy
air
one of
seals
these,
and whatnot.
right, exactly. When you buy one of these, you have to understand that the previous owner may have done the due diligence or not. And if they don't, you have to do it. So when you buy one of these, you have to come in with that mentality that things need to be in the first 6 months to a year. You need to replace some things. But could you have just completely just ignore that and keep riding the bus? Yeah, it'll go on its last leg. I mean, this thing needed an air compressor, which I actually had to do, and it was still riding with the bad air compressor. Finally, I took it to Prevost. I was like, hey, look, it seems like, when you brake, you lose a lot of air. What's going on? And it's like, oh, well, the air compressor's full of oil. It's been like that for probably a long time. Then they repaired it, never had the problem again. I mean, and that's the other thing is you go to Prevost, it's expensive. You pay. But, boy, the service that they give you is crazy. I mean, it's like you call, hey, when can I come in? The answer is always, when do you want to come in?
Really? That's cool. Nice.
I mean,
yeah.
you can't, with the King Aire, it's like, when can I come in? Well, we'll see you in 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And then I would get there, and let's say they got me in 2 weeks, instead of 6 weeks. Like, great, I feel great. So you get there, spend a whole day diagnosing the thing, and the guy will call me and say, you got to come pick it up, and it's going to be another 2 weeks for the parts to arrive. Prevost, it's like everything is, oh, parts, you know what, I need 24 hours. They order the parts, you get the parts, next day you're out of there.
Wow.
The service is night and day.
Talking about service, too, I've got to change the subject a little bit and give my boy Daryl Williams a shout out with Lion Solutions Detailing. So we dialed this in down at Premium Coach Group when you bought it. And that was actually how I got introduced to the folks at Premium Coach Group. So big thanks to Fred for introducing me to the folks at Premium Coach Group. I've shot a lot of videos over there, and a lot of people actually ended up buying coaches because of those videos. So Chad at Premium, you owe Fred. but
you hit me later.
Yeah, but Fred's not going to need another coach for 15 or 20 years. He's going to be in this marathon for a long time, so he's good.
I'm good.
When I saw this coach, it needed a lot more extensive detailing, paint correction, stainless polishing, and actually it's funny how small of a world it is because the detailer that Fred uses in Sacramento is a good friend of mine that I've actually worked with at Pebble Beach at the Concord Elegance, does all the Bugattis and stuff, and Daryl got the stainless on this coach dialed in. So anybody over on the West Coast is looking for a high. I don't even want to ask you what Daryl's bill was because I know Daryl's not cheap. Can I ask you about that or what?
I can tell you.
Daryl may want me to edit this out, but yeah, let's see.
Well, you know, the thing with these, when you buy an XL, which is the shiny sides and not the H but the XL, it's a little bit more affordable than the H. I'm not sure why, but it's always going to be a little bit cheaper than the H. H has a different market, the X has a different market. You know, it's just personality-wise and look-wise. My wife and I were really attracted to the stainless sides, which are so shiny. The problem when you buy one of these older ones is that there's a lot of owners who really don't put in the money and the time to maintain. Again, it's a maintenance issue. So you end up with a lot of scars on those panels. You know, a lot of scratches, pad marks. Some people out there go and take it to the detailer who doesn't really know how to take care of stainless, so they run the machine and they leave a lot of marks, etc. Marathon, actually, I ran it by Marathon, and they looked at the paint and the stainless and say, well, paint correction, forget about paint correction. They didn't want to touch that, which actually Daryl did too. But stainless correction was going to cost me $8,000 to $9,000, and my friend Daryl did it for a lot less than that. And
how much less? Can we ask? I'll edit it out if Daryl doesn't want. We don't have to.
I'm gonna say half. I'm gonna say at least half of the price that they had quoted me at Marathon, and that's. But he put in the time, and he went in and he corrected the entire coach, all the stainless and the paint.
Spent almost a week on it, huh?
A whole week.
Yeah.
Basically every day, 8 hours a day. And you know, you pay for that kind of service, and I trust him because I had two of the coaches were exclusively done by him. But you know, that's part of the money that goes into restoring. It's almost like you're buying an old house and you're changing all these things.
You got to paint or whatever, yeah.
You got to deal with that. And so, but I mean, it's amazing how good it looks now. It's just night and day.
Real quick, while we're talking about stainless polishing, I got to throw in a little tip out there that I learned recently. I didn't know this until recently. I recently did a video about DLAM, and actually this coach has had the riveted repair before you bought it, and I know Fred had done his homework and he knew about that DLAM issue before buying this, and that was one of the reasons you did buy this coach. But when detailers are polishing stainless, if they're not a seasoned stainless detailer, if they heat up the stainless too much, it'll heat up that glue, and then it'll cause the panels to start popping. So if you do have your stainless polished by someone that's kind of learning, be very careful. If they heat it up too much, now you're going to pop your panels, and then you're going to have a whole different set of issues. So I wanted to just throw that in there. So.
There are two things that when you buy an XL, you have to really look out for. Number one, if it's in that era that required the delamination correction or the repair, stainless repair, or whatever. It's not really a repair, so I don't know what they call it, but it's
seamless rivets. I think
it's a riveted repair, whatever.
Yeah.
Then you need to, look for that and ask for that directly, because otherwise there is an era of Prevost where the glue was coming undone and then the panels were kind of delaminating. They corrected that later on. you know, to where you don't need to have that. But, you know, there is a certain number of years. I don't know exactly which ones, but I know the 08s were included in that. So this one had it. That's number one. Number two is how much did they care for it? You know, how much did they care for the stainless and the paint and all that stuff? And these coaches all look great from a distance. It's amazing. But even the scratch ones, even this one, when it was still not corrected, you could see it from a distance. It was really shiny, really nice looking. But when you got up and you get up close and you see the damage that basically lack of, you know, preventative maintenance will do.
And I can show you like some of Kyle with Border Coach Leasing's tour buses that have 1 million miles, and from 20 feet away they just glow. And I mean, these XL2s, that's the thing about them, is even when they're used and abused, they still look, you know,
out.
But a guy like Fred, you know, you want your stuff perfect. If you're hiring Daryl Williams, I mean, this is the official Bugatti detailer. I mean, this guy does $3 million cars, $7 million, $9 million. I've got actually a bunch of YouTube videos with Daryl actually up at Pebble Beach. If you look at my playlist, Monterey Car Week, you'll see Daryl and all the Bugatti videos. So.
No, his stuff is just perfect. I mean, and you can see even those deep edged, like some scratches and pad marks. He just basically runs through the stuff, and it is smooth as silk. I mean, it's unbelievable what he can do. And so I would say that you need somebody like him to get your coach back to like brand new.
Just comparing overall, you know, anything else that you think would be good information to share with the folks on YouTube just about, you know, owning this Marathon Coach for 9 months versus owning that King Aire before?
I think, you know, I said it before in our last meeting, and I still say it again. If you have enough money to go and spend MSRP on King Aires right now, on a new King Aire is $1 million or close to $1 million, you know, and of course you probably get one for like $700, $750 or something like that, brand new, spec'd out to you. You owe it to yourself to look at something else, and you owe it to yourself to look at Prevost, because there's a lot of good coaches out there. And if you have that kind of budget to where you can go up to 700, you can end up with a very lightly used Prevost that will last you forever.
A lot longer than a plastic coach.
Oh my God, a lot longer. I mean, I saw a 15-year-old, I think it was a 15-year-old Ford Travel that was for sale at Premium when I was buying this one. And it was about 15 years old. You know, a good coach, I mean, it probably was a good coach for a long time, but boy, they deteriorate. They just basically just don't age as well as a Prevost. If a Prevost is well maintained, you can see a 20-year-old Prevost and it looks brand new. You know, 25. I've seen 25-year-old Prevosts that look pretty good. So you owe it to yourself to look at the other side of the coin here if you're gonna spend that much money, because there may be something. And of course, some people talk about livability, you know, like, oh, it's smaller and there's 2 slides or whatever. That's fine, you know. I mean, if you're into that, then absolutely, you know, then go with a production coach. But if you're gonna drive it a lot, like we do, you know, be on the road a lot. That's to us, that was fundamental, because we have family in Maine. So, you know, we any given like year, we may decide to do a cross country and back. That you need something that's gonna hold up.
Fred, I can't thank you enough for sharing so much knowledge, you know. And if you haven't seen the previous video, Fred and his wife Cindy went really deep, and it was one of my terrible editing. It was a terrible video on my behalf. I was still learning. I mean, it was, and I appreciate Fred, you know, sharing all this information though, and sharing all this wisdom. Fred owned a Cornerstone, then a King Aire, now in a Prevost, and just has a lot of wisdom. Really appreciate you sharing that with everybody on YouTube, and appreciate all of you out there liking these videos and subscribing to the channel. And I think we should go out. I think there might be a sunset going on outside, man. Let's go check it out.
Absolutely.